Hey, Dan Meyer here, and today we're going to talk about how to set yourself up for massive success, right? So what are the keys that you need to be thinking about so that you're successful? Whether you're going to grow your current business, launch something new, or start a brand new business, you want to set yourself up for success by asking yourself these 5 key questions. And these questions are things that we should be asking ourselves all the time. They're not just a one and done. They're things we should be using consistently throughout the year as we make adjustments, as we evolve what we're doing. You want to make sure you have a clear goal. You want to make sure you understand your audience. You want to know how you're measuring your success. You want to have some insight in your competition, and you want to know what to do in social media. These are the 5 areas I'm going to talk to you about how I've been successful. I spent 15 years in corporate America. After that, I spent the last 10 years as an entrepreneur, and I've been pretty successful every step of the way because I'm constantly asking myself these questions to make sure that I'm on track, that I'm going where I want to go. This is important because I've learned that to be successful, you have to be able to evolve. You have to adapt. You have to adjust. And the last years taught us that's definitely true. The people that can evolve and adapt and pivot and adjust are still doing business. And the ones that failed to do that are either out of business or in significant trouble. So, and a lot of people that are successful, they're doing it because they're looking at the data, they're understanding the environment around them, they're being observant of what's happening on competition, they're keeping tabs on everything around them. And that's important. This is something that I want you to think about as I ask you these 5 questions. And then I share with you my answers. You'll be thinking what your answer should be to these 5 questions. So number 1 is, what are your business goals, right? My business goal for 2020 was to launch a YouTube channel, to grow my virtual assistant business, to basically just do something to keep myself busy in a way that I couldn't be out there in public. I couldn't be speaking on stages at events in person. So I needed to do something to get my creative energy out there and then use that to be able to make money and to have a business and have impact and to help other people. So my business goals in 2020 were pretty clear. 2021 is very different, right? I did what I did last year for last year. This year, it's all about looking forward to opportunities of when we get back to some sense of normal and being there on the cutting edge of things so that as things start to evolve, I'm ahead of everybody else. So my business goals for 2021 really are about trying to give myself the skills and the expertise to launch a new type of business, right? I'm going to go into the food business in 2021. This is something really different for me, but I'm going to do it with the same things that I've done before. I'm very data driven. I'm very organized. I like to plan things out. So when I launch my food business, it's going to be based on what I've done in my other businesses. And basically that's the key, right? I've also know where I want to go as far as financial goals. I have clear goals of what I want to be able to make financially. And so if I'm not be able to do this with my existing businesses or my new business, I'm going to have to make adjustments, right? And figure out where the opportunities are going to be able to make the money I want by the end of the year. So having clear goals is super important. What's your number 1 big goal for the upcoming year? What are you trying to do, both as far as what you personally can feel as satisfaction and success, as well as financially? How do you know that you've actually had the impact that you wanted to in a way that continues to allow you to do it, right? You want to be sustainable. So what are your business goals? What is your North Star that helps you make decisions? So whenever you're making a decision, you're always thinking, is this going to get me closer to where I want to go? That's key number 1. Key number 2 is knowing who your audience is, right? Knowing your audience is super important. It amazes me how many people launch a business or launch a new product or service within their business having never really researched the audience. You have to go where the demand is, and you want to stay ahead of the curve. You want to go where the demand is going and where it's coming from in the future versus where the demand has been and what it was like in the past. Businesses that were able to pivot in 2020 were ones that were able to adapt to the audience's new needs. Perfect example is how many of us used to go to events to do networking, and now in 2020, we have to do it almost all entirely online. The tools that were there seeing that opportunity blew up, like Zoom, right? Streaming services blew up because people are at home more streaming content. Knowing who your audience is allows you to be ahead and stay there for the next big thing. Right? For me, I know who my audience is, for example, for the food business I'm going to launch, right? The food business is going to be people that work a job and they can't really have time to prepare a lot of food when they get home. It's got to be quick and simple and easy. And they also don't want to have to spend a lot of time shopping. So, HelloFresh and people like that, I want to do something similar to that, but I'm going to do it overseas in a different country. I'm going to do it in the Philippines. And we're going to see how it's going to go in 2021. That's my big goal for 2021, is try to launch a business like this based on a great partnership I have with a woman who's already been doing catering in the Philippines. We're going to expand it, grow it, make it more awesome. In 2020, my audience is all about small business owners, entrepreneurs, people like us, coaches, speakers, authors, trainers, trying to grow their business through virtual space. So I really pushed my virtual assistant business, Sonic VA, which is what you see on the logo here. So knowing your audience, knowing what they need and how you can provide the services to them, right? Demand is what you are all about. You're trying to satisfy demand. You're trying to stay ahead of where demand is going. Know your audience. Next thing I want you to think about is, how will you know if you're successful? What are your measurements? Now, obviously, the number one measurement for any business is how much money you got in the checking account, right? In your bank account, are you making enough money to keep doing it? Are you sustainable, and will you eventually grow and have a nice ROI? If not, why are you doing it, right? You need to be in business to make money. And anybody who says anything else is probably fooling themselves, or they're just super rich and they can afford it. But for most of us, we're in business for the sole purpose of making money, to be able to do what we want to do, to achieve our dreams, to meet our goals. So how will you know if you're successful? Well, you should have an idea, a financial model, right? You should have a plan. How many people do you have to hire? How many products do you have to make? How many people do you have to service? How many people are going to be paying long term for you? How much subscriptions do you need? Whatever your ways to make money are, as well as whatever you do to spend money on, you have to balance that ahead of time. You got to forecast and project where you're going to be at financially. You also got to make sure that your heart's in it, right? So you got to know what you got to do. I've changed businesses many times, right? So I go where my heart is taking me, because if I don't put my heart into something, it's not going to be successful. So I let my heart, to some extent, lead my choices, because I want to always be satisfied. I want to keep myself in that sweet spot where I can provide a service that I enjoy doing and I get paid to do. And if I'm doing those three things in conjunction, then I'm successful, right? So what does your version of success look like? How many people do you have to impact? How many people do you have to employ? How many people do you have to solve a problem for? How much money do you have to make? How do you cover your expenses? What is your return on investment? Spend a lot of time thinking about this one, because you have to measure your success, right? What gets measured gets done. Data drives all our decision making, whether we know it or not. So you want to make sure that you really have good measurements. I already know months before I launch this new food business exactly what I need to do financially to make a profit. Now, I'll make adjustments. It won't be perfect. Maybe this entree doesn't sell as well as I think it's going to be, so I got to change it with this entree. I'm looking at suppliers. I'm looking at opportunities to be able to, who I'm going to market to, how I'm going to get it to them, how we're going to deliver it, all the different things that go into making sure that my business is successful. I'm taking care of before I even launch it. At least initial plan, right? I have it planned out. That's how I'll be successful. You also want to know who your competition is, right? Who are people spending money on that you're going to be asking them to stop spending money on them and spending money on you? Every dollar out there is going to get spent on something. How do you know it's you? How can you ensure that you're the one that people are going to turn to and say, yeah, I'll give you my money? When it comes to virtual assistants, I built my entire brand around my own experience. I've launched businesses with virtual staff. I've helped other companies launch and grow their business with virtual staff. So everything I did was because I know how to do it, and I've done it before successfully. So now I'm just sharing that expertise with other people and offering the opportunity to have a virtual assistant to do the things I did. Not everyone's going to be successful. It's not a everything fits perfectly kind of business. In fact, there probably really isn't one of those kinds of businesses anyway. But I know my competition, right? Other people are out there offering virtual assistants. I know you can go to Fiverr, you can go to Upwork, you can do things through freelancers. They all have pros and cons. So I make sure I articulate to my audience, to my prospects, what's different about working with me. One, you work with me. Two, I've got much more credibility in knowing how to get good people. I've got experience in going out there and solving problems. So you're not just taking something that's just basically someone's word online, and you're not taking a really big gamble with your business by having a VA that works for me. So knowing your competition and knowing what else is out there. So you do pricing comparisons, you do, product, comparisons to make sure the product you're offering is comparable and competitive to the one that they're offering, so that you can peel away existing business and create new business. That's what you want to do with the competition. The last thing is, what do you do with social media? This is a big question. And for me, social media is number one, you have to have a plan. You have to do a lot of analysis to figure out how to make that plan work. And you have to find somebody else to implement it. Number one rule of entrepreneurship is you should not be doing your own social media. Yeah, maybe you do it when you first launch, you kind of build some systems up, you figure out what works, and then you have somebody else actually do it every day, because it's hard for people like us to consistently post on social media, to stay on message, to have a common schedule, to build that engagement with people by being there exactly when they want us and being responsive right away. Those things are really hard to do unless you have somebody who does it as their regular job. So what social media platforms do you want to be on? You want to research it, make sure that your audience and find them where they're at, right? So for me, when it comes to what I do with virtual assistants, my audience really has been Facebook, right? Trying to get people that are other coaches and entrepreneurs, build up my network of other speakers, trainers, and authors. For my data analysis business, for Sonic Analytics, it's very corporate. I get most of my effort there goes into LinkedIn, mining LinkedIn connections, offering my training packages to them, showing them what we can do with big data analytics training. So everyone's a little bit different. Like I have a pretty strong indication that the food business is going to be driven primarily through Instagram and possibly TikTok is where we're going to spend most of our energy when it comes to social media marketing for doing the food business. So basically you want to know what social media works best for you, and then you want to optimize everything you do for that platform. The colors, the brand, the palette, the call to action, whether you're using videos or whether you're using images or what kind of videos and how long, all these things depend on your audience and what they're wanting to consume. So you go back to competition, look what your competition's doing. Look what influencers are doing in that space and figure out how to do what they do, just do it better, right? Understand what social media platforms to be on based on the demographics of your audience, based on the platform that they choose to consume things through, that you're going to be competing with other people to do the same thing. So I threw a lot at you. That was just 5 points, and I just kind of went very quickly on each one of them. I could do a whole video on each of these 5 points. In fact, maybe you'll see future videos from me doing just that. But to set yourself up for success, you want to make sure that you definitely plan, right? You want to have your goals. You want to build in your measurements. You want to make sure you have a financial plan that's going to be successful. You want to make sure that you know how to scale things before you even launch. And to do a lot of this, you're going to probably want a virtual assistant and eventually hire full-time virtual staff so you don't have to be stuck to a physical location. Some businesses are required, but most of us have learned that we don't need a lot of things to be in person to be successful. So if you want someone to manage your social media, to create great graphics for your social media, to edit YouTube-ready videos for your business, Sonic VA is where you want to be, right? So we can help you be more consistent, build more clarity, and have more certainty for your clients and what you're going to deliver them if you use a Sonic VA. So that's it for today. I want to thank you for your time. Now go out there and answer these 5 questions and figure out what you need to do to make sure that you're setting yourself up for massive success in this new year. So again, thanks for your time. Go out there and have an amazing day.